This is Marco Velez, and these are my interviewing questions for organizational communications. First question. Tell me about a time when you had to adapt to a wide variety of people by accepting or understanding their perspectives. So at this point, I work at a grocery store for with King Supers, and right now, so I'm a what's considered a head clerk, and my position is supervisor for the front area. So I'm in charge of um, anywhere upwards of 10 to 15 people at a time during my 8-hour shift. So this actually has me adapting to a wide variety of people, and now I have to understand how what they prefer, like what their communication styles are, and everything. And I do my best to adapt my listening skills and my communication skills to each person that I have to interact with. So between the courtesy clerks who are in charge of bagging and also the checkers, who their job's pretty obvious. All they have to do is check the items. So talking to them and making sure they understand whatever needs we have to accomplish that day. That is part of my everyday task, as well as dealing with upper management at the same time. So I'm sort of in the middle, um, as far as as far as the store goes in the chain of command. So my second question: how do you promote sensitivity and inclusion? Um, at my store, it's pretty easy because I try to maintain as open communication with all my employees. So if they have an issue or anything, I don't think anybody has any problem coming up to me and letting me know if they have a problem. So the way I do that is I always introduce myself every day. I always say hello to everybody, and I make sure that they know that I'm going to be there that day. And I always let them know that if they have any problems, they can come to me, or if they have any type of input, please to come see me, and I always follow up with any type of request or issues. I let them know what the status is, and it's just trying to keep open lines of communication and giving those people constant updates on how I work or what the progress is of the situation. What type of management style do you prefer? Hands-on, frequent supervision, minimal supervision, and why? If that's geared towards me, I prefer the minimal supervision. I'm for myself because I know that at this job I've gained enough trust with the management that can let me uh, they pretty much let me work and do things, run the front the way I do it. As far as people under me, I prefer the minimal supervision as well because I want to be able to trust everybody and let them know and or make sure that they understand that they have my trust and I don't need to micromanage them all the time. There are times that I have to remind them of a task that I asked them to do, but it's just a quick stop in and say, hey, what's going on? What's the update? What's the status? And it kind of goes from there. And depending on the type of answer they give me, I'll work with them or whatever's going on. But it's for me, like I said, it's on both ends. It's gonna be mostly minimal supervision because I have a lot to do. There's a lot in the front that's going on, and I have to keep my head moving constantly, and I have to keep moving constantly. So I have to interact with the customers, guide them to the check stands, if I have to pick up money for registers or um, anything. So there's a lot of different tasks that require me to be constantly mobile. So I have to be, um, I have to keep it basically a minimal supervision and trust everybody that works under me. And like I said, the management trusts me to do the right thing. Let's see. Tell me about a time when you were given high priority tasks from multiple supervisors. How did you decide which to complete first? Um, so when before I was promoted, I was working at the service desk, and then I was also working at the gas station, or what's called the fuel. Um, working fuel. And so at times we're going to have a walkthrough, which means somebody from corporate is going to come through, and they're going to be inspecting whatever area. So if they're ever going to inspect the gas station, the fuel, then I have to prepare, make sure everything's clean out there. So at that point, I'll have at least 3 of my the assistant store managers come up to me and give me separate tasks. So what I do is I prioritize by which can be accomplished first. Well, actually, first it's prioritized by which is more important according to the as far as what are the tasks that need to be performed outside at fuel. I prioritize what's important first, then I do what I can knock out the fastest, and after that, whatever's on the lower rung priority, I'll deal with it as it comes. But it's mostly just make sure I tackle the most important things first, and then I always, like I've mentioned before, it's mostly about keeping an open line of communication and give the upper management constant updates of what the status is of everything. So whenever a task is accomplished, I let them know, and then I'm letting them know that I'm moving on to the next task. Next question is, describe a situation in which a colleague was displeased with you or unprofessional toward you and how you handled it. So because I've worked with so many different people at the store and I was promoted fairly quickly, I have to work with an individual that has been working there longer than I have, and he is working, he's trying to obtain the head clerk position. And he has been, he was trained before I was, but I got promoted before him. So he was very displeased with that. And so what I informed him was that if management since they made that decision to promote me before him, I didn't focus on that fact. I just said, well, then let's just get you trained up on the areas that you need to work on, what you need to focus on. And if he could tell me what type of feedback he gets from management as far as what those areas are, and then we can create I had him, between me and him, we created an action plan of what he needed to be working on the most. So if he's interacting with people or working in a specific area up front that he doesn't have a lot of time with, then we focus on that. But again, it's mostly like prioritizing. But I told him that I would help him every step of the way, because I had exposure to a lot of different areas, and I didn't have any problems learning. And if any time I had any problems, I would just ask as many questions as possible and make it clear that I didn't understand something or I needed to learn. And I just made my interest very clear that I wanted to learn more about specific positions, and I told him that it would be best that if he expressed a certain curiosity about diving into other departments. And for the most part, we're working well together, but there are a few hiccups where he's just trying to work through some personal issues with management, but we're getting there. What was the biggest accomplishment / failure in this position? My biggest accomplishment right now is just actually getting promoted fairly quickly. I pretty much established myself as a hard worker. I don't question authority. If an order is given to me, then I follow it, and if I have any problems with it, I ask questions. And it's basically just it's open lines of communication. You have to let people know where you're at, what you're doing, how's it going, and if you have any problems. Failure right now is because I move around so much up front in the store, that I will tend to go off and help somebody else, like a customer or anybody else that needs help inside the store. And my biggest problem right now is letting people know where I'm going before I leave. So it's not necessarily a failure, but more of an opportunity to change a bad habit. And I appreciate. I tell them I always appreciate any type of feedback. So I'm always asking questions like, what do you think I'm doing? How do you think I'm doing? Where do you think I'm at? What do you think I need to work on? And I always acknowledge what information is being given to me, and I write it down. And I set that as the next task for me, or a task for me to work on. And let me see. What are your favorite and least favorite projects that you have worked in the past? Favorite projects are when they kind of let me clean. That's one of the reasons why they promoted me, because they trust me enough that if they give me a task and it was mostly involved cleaning, and cleaning, making sure the outside area was, especially fuel, was maintained. If that was whatever area that I worked, I made sure that it was clean. So they would give me side projects, like, take the power washer and go in the back and clean out the trash area, make sure it looks clean. And every single project they give me, I've cleaned just to the highest standards possible, because I constantly remind myself that where I'm working is a grocery store. People like to shop there, and they don't want to see anything that's disgusting or messy or anything like that. So I'm always on the move, and my favorite projects are always cleaning. My least favorite projects, I guess when it comes to the store, I don't know if I have any least favorite projects. I imagine it's probably had something to do with administrative work. I like to be more physical, and if I can get my hands on things, I know what I'm capable of doing, and I know that I can succeed. So it's mostly going to be projects that I probably don't have much experience in, but I'm always open for guidance, and I always ask questions. So I said that would be it. Tell me about your most stressful situation and how you handled it. Right now, I have a courtesy clerk, and his name is David, and he is, for lack of a better term, he's in special needs. He has a job coach, and that comes and checks on him every now and then. So he's part of a project that works with our corporation, and we hire special needs individuals with special needs. So David has a tendency to, if he's not being supervised and not being watched, he won't do what he's told, and he's answering back. That creates stress in my world, because if I can't always devote the time to supervise him individually. So if I have to go outside and watch him push carts to make sure that he's actually pushing them versus standing around or playing around or doing something completely opposite of what we asked them to do, it takes a lot of time, and it is stressful, because I have to go back to the front and make sure everything is going as it should. So right now, it's mostly what we were doing is working with David's job coach. We asked her to come in, and we all sat down with my management and myself, my manager, David, and his job coach, so that way we created clear and concise instructions and performance expectations, and make sure we had it all written down. And we made sure that he understood clearly what we expect of him, and how we don't need, because of our job, it's so busy that we can't constantly supervise him to make sure that he's doing the right thing. And we try to implement the importance of trust. And trusting is, if I can turn my back after I give him an order, that he would just accomplish it. And I remind them that everything that he's done, I have done before, and it wouldn't be anything that I wouldn't do myself. Every task that I've ever asked him to do has always been something that I've done myself. So everything is just about making sure there's a clear understanding of what is expected. And we're trying to work with them. Well, we're not trying, but we actually are working with them. But there are days that when it gets a little difficult, but we push through. We just try to maintain patience and understanding. Tell me about a problem that required you to come up with an innovative solution. What made it better than other solutions? This is a small item, but when we were having problems with making sure the correct items were on display outside of the fuel in the display rack. And one of the biggest issues was that the items that were out there were these bags of chips that weren't sitting up properly. So I I they allow me some creative liberties when it comes to making sure that things get done correctly out there. So I went into the back of the store, grabbed a couple of display racks that would fit into this display, and they worked. It came down at an angle, so that way I could display the product upright, and they could lean on themselves. That actually helped out, and it didn't mess with the overall map of the products, because everything has a schematic that needs to be adhered to. It's very specific, and it's just so we can maintain control of all the products that are incoming and outgoing, and making sure everything that we have on hand is correct. And so they allowed it, and there was a couple of little other things that I would do, and it's just mostly finding finding solutions that can connect with the problem. And I apologize for being vague, but there's a lot of different situations I can say. For example, we have this water tank, this portable water tank that we have to connect constantly to a water source and fill it up. So it takes time because we're screwing it in. So I went over to Home Depot and I bought these quick connects that have a female and male end that connect to the faucet in the back. And it allows us for, instead of like screwing and unscrewing, saves us a few extra seconds over time, and that just adds up to save time in the long run. So, and they've accepted all those ideas, and they've been very, they've been very open to a lot of the ideas that I present. As long as it doesn't cost the company money, it's very easy. And right now I'm actually working on a project with human resources. I don't know how far we're going to get, but it's sort of a retention project about mentorship. And I'm working with one of the HR recruiters, retention recruiting lead. And the idea is to, if whenever we get a new person, it's we would assign them a peer mentor, somebody in a senior position, not necessarily a senior position, but somebody that's been there a few years and knows their way around the store, and assign them that person to help out with any problems or just to help guide them through the induction process of working at the store. Because that person will have knowledge about how to do things properly. We'll always make sure that they're doing things within the parameters of how things are supposed to be done at the store according to policies and guidelines issued by corporate. And it creates my plan is to create it's almost like a leadership development program as well, where you can hold the senior person accountable, and that gives them added responsibilities. And when they have a successful recruit, so to speak, they have a person that's inducted well, they start feeling that they can start learning to accept more and more responsibilities. So it holds these senior people accountable, and it also provides the new person with somebody that knows what they're doing, and it frees up management time. And because we were not always going to be there to guide a new person all the time. It's a very simple project, and it doesn't cost any money. So I'm working on how to implement that in my store. And my final question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm going to be running my own store. So this is my first year at the store, and I'm going to be a store manager. That is my goal. At this point, I've decided to commit to this corporation, and I don't see grocery stores going anywhere, regardless of what happens with Amazon or any of the other chains. But that's where I intend to be, and I'm going to end up retiring here at King Soopers. Well, those were my interview questions, and I thank you very much for watching, and you have a good night. Thank you.